just kind of comparing and swatching right now. Oh my gosh, look at me. I am a juicy fruit. Juicy fruit. Hi friends, welcome back to my channel and welcome to part 2 of this massive eyeshadow palette declutter. Today, I'm gonna be diving back into my makeup drawers and I'm gonna be going through with you my large eyeshadow palettes. These are gonna be so hard, but here's the thing. I have almost done this to myself sort of intentionally, but not. I do not have a lot of time to play around with today. I have to make some fast decisions. I can't be swatching every little color, every detail to compare. I need to just make some cutthroat decisions because your girl is on a time crunch and it is the holiday week when you guys are seeing this. Happy Easter. Also, happy birthday to Adam. His birthday is today. So we need to dive into this. We need to jump into this eyeshadow palette declutter. We're going to get on the floor. We're going to touch as many things as I have time for, do some swatching, and figure out what is staying, what is going, and yes, some things from my first video that you guys may have missed, and if you did, I will link it above for you. Some of my smaller palettes I did bring into, because they were kind of like that middle-sized palette, into this video to make some more cutthroat decisions. I have tried some more things since we last spoke, retried stuff, and I think we're gonna be cutting the fat today. We're gonna be killing off some of the things we don't use or need in this beauty space, and I have to not feel guilty about it. So grab your tea, grab your snack, grab your water, get comfy, and let's get into this cutthroat second part of this declutter. Cheers! I want to take a quick moment to jump in here to say thank you to today's video sponsor, S.Deer. I am so excited to share some of these pieces with you guys because this clothing looks and feels like artwork. There is a variety of styles for everyone. They have colorful pieces and also very monotone pieces that could work for all occasions. This first piece here is the A-line Fairy Elastic Skirt. I fell in love with this. I kind of felt like an adult in a tutu, but elegant and stylized. Something that would work great for work, something that would be so much fun to go out in, great for a date night or a day out with the girls. This is so airy and breezy, and I also love that the waist is elastic, so that way it's going to be comfortable no matter what you pair it with. I loved styling this piece with different colors too, because I found that even though it was like a green tone, it could really go with a lot of colors, like that favorite pop of orange that I love, the blue tones. I could dress this up for a summer vibe with a hat or some sunglasses. This really was one of my favorites. Okay, now the two-piece dress with the smudge print suspenders. I cannot tell you how cool I thought this was. So when I got to put this on, I was so excited. First of all, I loved that this is actually two separate pieces because you're going to see me utilizing the kind of tooled dress as well with some other pieces from them because this is super versatile. I love that I could dress this up and that it cinches at the waist. I have an hourglass figure, so I always have a problem with things making me look too boxy unless it gives me that option to be able to kind of show more of my silhouette, which this absolutely did, and I loved it. I loved, again, the tooled skirt. I thought it was super flowy, super comfy. I also loved that the arms were asymmetrical, so it kind of gave more of that waist look where it kind of led into the eye, pulling it down to the side. It was so much fun. This fashionable textured pleated off the shoulder top is also a style I have always loved. I love being able to show a shoulder. I love the little bedazzling on the ends. I think that it is super comfortable as well. And this is a piece I could, again, use with the tooled dress that I had just had on, but also I could pair this with shorts. I could pair this with jeans to really dress up a look. I really thought this was super comfortable as well and very flattering. I liked the cut of the entire piece. Hair up or hair down, I really feel like this is going to make a statement and kind of make even an average look elevated. It gives it that extra oomph. Okay, I don't know who I thought I was with this round neck cut shoulder letter irregular t-shirt, but you guys, I felt super edgy in this, and I'm not necessarily an edgy girl, I guess, but this, it just kept standing out to me when I was looking through their selections, and I just thought it was super cool. It's got button details on it, peak of shoulder on one side, and it's a little asymmetrical, but it is so much fun. This top is something that obviously I had to put with the tulle dress because I thought, I mean, I've got to go all in if I'm going to do the edgy vibe. But then with the shorts, it just made it more approachable for me and day-to-day wear for me as well, because I thought, how cool is this? It's like a statement top that's comfortable that I could pair with either more that elevated outfit or super casual. And I also love that S.Deer is giving you guys a discount of using my code Nichole15 for 15% off site-wide, or use my code Nichole20 for 20% off all orders over $199. I love that I have that option for you guys as well. These clothing pieces, I have to tell you, I was shocked at how comfortable they were, because they do look like artwork. They do look like that next elevated piece. And it definitely was still so much fun though. And I think that's what I loved about the S.Deer line, is that it's fun, but put together really well. It's like art. Their website is super cool, guys. You could go through and see different types of pieces too. Do you want to look at jackets? Do you want to look at tops? Do you want to look at blouses, summer? You could go through the seasons with it as well. And again, every piece that you look at looks like artwork. It is so cool. Their jackets are definitely speaking to me. I live in Florida, so I don't necessarily need a jacket all the time. So I kind of refrained from that, but I couldn't help it. I just kept looking at all of them and thinking, these pieces are so unique. And I love a unique branding. I love unique lines. I think they're super cool. Thank you guys so much for always allowing a fun sponsor to pop in from time to time that really supports my channel, and I always appreciate it. S.Deer, thank you so much again for sponsoring this portion of today's video. Now, back to the declutter. Okay guys, you know the drill. What we're gonna be doing is going through all of my bigger palettes, so let's get them going, right? Okay guys, these are my bigger palettes. It's really hard to get everything into frame. That's why I kind of had to split this into two, because my smaller palettes, obviously I could get a ton more down. But as you can see here, we still have a lot to go through. And there's more in here than I even kind of thought, because I have more color pops in here, even though I approached those in my last video as well, but they were more of the middle-sized palettes. Oh boy. Okay, so actually I'm going to put some brands together here while I am kind of reviewing what we've got going. And I even found a couple more smaller palettes that I forgot about. So let's just start with that, because I need to make some decisions fast. This little Wet n Wild color icon palette is okay. It's pretty good if you are a babe on a budget, but I definitely forgot about this, and I have so many neutrals. I'm gonna go ahead and pass this on to a friend. It's good, it's just not something I'm reaching for, and I have so many things. So let's just start it off with a one declutter right there. Okay, this one's going to be so much harder, I feel like, because my big palettes, you guys, these are like, oh, these are going to be hard. Let's start at the bottom left corner and kind of work our way. So Patrick Ta's packaging is super pretty, but it definitely is reflective, so hopefully my camera will focus on these shadows. This was like the 2022 palette, wasn't it? This one definitely was making the rounds on YouTube and social media. It's the palette everyone was talking about, and for good reason. These shimmers and these mattes are really quality. Also, they have some creams over here underneath this door. This is something that I liked, but I didn't find myself using a ton last year. However, it is still a really quality palette, and it's something that I think is going to look great in the summertime. So I am going to hang on to this Patrick Ta Major Dimensions 2 palette. Ooh, the Ciate London line is something that I have like a love-hate relationship with this line in general, but their shadows for me are very hit or miss. Not all of them are a hit. And as many of you may remember, this color story is not exactly my jam. The dusty roses and the pinks were something I really gravitated to in like 2016-ish, but not something I've gravitated to a lot, I don't know, maybe the past 5 years. But This is such a good formula. You guys, the Ciate London I Am Woman What's Your Superpower palette. This one shocked so many of us when we received it in, I believe, a Boxy Luxe maybe a premium. This was so good that I couldn't even believe it, and it was really complimentary. I don't know what was different about these. Maybe it was the formula, maybe it was the combination of the shadow options, because you do get a lot of shadow options, but they're really quality. So this is definitely going to be staying, which kind of shocks me, because if I would just look at this color story without using it, I would have been like, oh, I'm getting ready to declutter this, which I probably thought about doing. But this is really, really quality, and I've loved these shadows, and do pull them out and use them. So hanging on to her. This Zoeva Caramel Melange palette, there was a couple different versions of this going around for a while, and as you can see, your girl has hit pan on one of these shades, and I'm likely to hit pan on this one as well in the near future. You see some pan here. This is a palette that I think is super easy to use. The formula is great. The undertones are really good for my skin tone to be a great neutral palette. Super easy to use, definitely hanging on to her. Not even gonna mess around pretending that that was like on the chopping block, because she's one that was a favorite for a long time and I still use. All right, something that I don't use as much as I thought I would, and why am I like this? The Naked Urban Decay Wild West palette. I did a little like shorts on this video, a reel back when reels were new, and I put it on TikTok as well, and this is still a video on TikTok that does actually pretty decently considering I barely post there ever. This is the Wild West palette. They have since come out with the mini, and I feel like I would have been pretty good with the mini. I just saw, wow, this Cowboy Rick color is crumbling. Did I drop her or something? Like, why is this crumbling? Oof, look how pretty that is. Can you see how pretty that shade is? So nice. This is actually a really good palette. I just don't use it as much as I thought I would when I purchased this, because you guys were tagging me on Instagram when this was being teased as an upcoming release, and I was just like, you guys keep telling me this is like definitely a Nichole palette. You are not wrong, and you're still not wrong. It's definitely a Nichole palette. It's just something I tend to forget about, but these are quality shadows. Ooh, I'm gonna make myself use her this summer, and if I end up not using her much, I'm gonna be doing like a fall declutter and putting this in there, because I either need to use it or make space for new things. But she's still performing and very beautiful. So let's look at this Hip Dot palette. This palette really surprised me, because if you're looking at this color story, you may be like, how often do I see Nichole wear corals and purples and pinks anymore? Not that frequently, honestly. And when I first got this palette in a BoxyCharm, yeah, I think it was a BoxyCharm. This is the Zion Hip Dot palette. I was like, oh, it's not my color story. I'm gonna end up passing this on really quickly or putting it in a giveaway even before I touch it. And something told me try this, and the quality of this is so good. It is really good, but I could not tell you the last time I touched this palette. And again, it's not a bad palette. I don't think it's aged or anything. I just think these are not color stories that your girl gravitates to on the regular. Swatching is where sometimes we can get myself in trouble, honestly. But it's not bad, but it's definitely not something I am utilizing. And the theme of me decluttering is not just to declutter, but also to make room, see things in my drawer that I love, because I can get overwhelmed so easily, you guys, and that's just in anything in life. Makeup, my office desk, my clothing. If I'm overwhelmed and I can't see something that I love right away, I'm just gonna be stuck. So I'd rather just see things I love, which gets me excited first thing in the morning. So I'm going to pass this one on to a friend that I know the color story of pinks and purples are her jam, and I think she's gonna love this formula. So I'm gonna pass this on. So 2 decluttered so far. I just realized that this Violet Voss palette is in my last video. This one snuck in here somehow. So go check out that video if you don't remember why this is in my collection, or was this on the chopping block? Hint, it was. Okay, you guys know in my mini palette version of this video, the declutter, I love my Wander Beauty Getaway Eyeshadow Palette, and these are two Wander Beauty palettes as well. This one here is the Wondrous Escape palette. Again, this one is a neutral dream, but the undertone for me isn't as nice as the Getaway Face palette, which is also why the Getaway Face palette has not been decluttered, and I love the shimmer. I actually compared this palette when I originally got it to that one that I love so much and just feel like I need to repurchase. And it's not a dupe, but the quality of these shadows is still good, but maybe not as good as the Getaway palette in my mind personally. And let's see here, still swatching her. I don't even see that color. Oh, where's that color? Oh boy. Oh boy. I either did not do a very good job of swatching or these just really aren't performing. Hold on. Let's get a little bit more down and dirty with some of these swatches. Clearly the shimmer showed up, but I'm like, where's the rest? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Kind of not loving what I'm seeing here. Was not expecting that. Was the shimmers where this palette was shining? I mean, I honestly am trying to think of the last time I used this palette. I'm not 100% sure. That's kind of pretty, but y'all know this is a color I love and I have in a wide variety of palettes. Oh, I'm kind of getting bummed at this moment because these are not performing how I thought they would, and they're wiping off super easy. I really didn't go into this video, just like the last one, thinking I would be decluttering things that in my brain are associated with other products I can't live without, like the Getaway palette. So I'm gonna put this in the maybe pile right now because I don't have time to mess around today. So let's also look at the Sweet Escape palette. Now this one, again, purples. Oh man, I kind of thought if I was gonna be getting rid of anyone, it would probably be this one because I reach into this as like an assist palette from time to time for like maybe a staple like this color here or that color there, but nothing I couldn't live without. And if you can see on my fingers here, she's chunky on the fingers. We don't discriminate though. We love a girl with some fluff. We love some girl that can perform well no matter if she's chunky, and those are actually performing better, I feel like, than the other palette. The issue is more I don't gravitate to these colors as much. So I'm just sitting here swatching and thinking. Let's do a fast forward comparison in my brain here. Oh man. Y'all, I'm kind of in a declutter mood today, and I'm actually considering just getting rid of both of them, and I'm shocking the crap out of myself. Like, how am I only like in this beginning phase of this and being like, yeah, maybe I just don't need either of these. Okay, I'm already going to be making some decisions that I didn't know was going to happen. I am going to give the Sweet Escapes Wander Beauty palette to a friend. Again, I'm just not reaching into these colors. I do have them in other palettes that I am keeping. Maybe not identical dupes, but I have other purples in my collection and from like my ColourPop and things like that. And I'm not using her, so I need to just not hoard makeup and pass it on to people who I think would actually use it and love it. So I have a friend in mind for this. So this is a declutter. Dang it. And this one I'm going to put still in my maybe pile because I'm torn on this one for real. Who knows these girls? Hello, Throwback Thursday. How you doing with the Modern Renaissance Anastasia Beverly Hills palette? I have reached into this recently and she still performs very well. Now, I did not buy the first run. Actually, that was a point of contention here on my channel where a lot of you guys were like calling me out back in 2016, 2017 when I was like, you know, I think I have those colors. I don't think I need to buy this palette. So many of my OG subscribers were like, girl, you need this. Like, trust us, the formula is like nothing else. She says as she swatches on her palm and you don't see much. Oh boy. But what we know about these palettes is the formula is very soft and it is blendable and it builds on the lids. It does a great job, and I've actually used this on the eyes recently, so I'm going to be keeping her at this time and still using her. Now tell me in the comments below, honestly. Like the video if you're not a commenter, but tell me if you still have this palette and do you still use it? Do you still love it? Because you guys remember the chokehold this palette had on all of YouTube there for a while and Instagram? It was a big deal. Huge deal. Oh my gosh. Speaking of a big deal. Okay, so my personal story with the Subculture Anastasia Beverly Hills palette. If you don't know, when this was released, it got slaughtered on YouTube because it's such a soft formula. People could take this brush, and by the way, the Anastasia brushes are actually pretty good brushes. So if you've never had one of her palettes, just so you know, these are not throwaway brushes. These are actually really good. People could just, it's so soft that it just kept kicking up, and people hit pan just like the first day they owned it if they kept swirling in the product, because it's a very soft formula, but that makes it super blendable. So here's my love story / saga with this. I did not buy this right away because I actually did a video series called YouTube Ruined It for me at the time. And I was so stoked when I saw the color story of this palette for fall. I was like, I love some yellow tones. I love some green tones. This is like a fall lover's dream. And it actually goes well with my personal color story with my hair, my skin, the whole thing. But then I started seeing all those videos on YouTube slaughtering this thing, saying how it was just terrible. This was like the biggest fail of Anastasia of all time. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't get it. Put it in the video of YouTube Ruined It for me. And then I found her, I want to say like 3-4 years ago in like a TJ Maxx. And it was, I don't know, $20, $25. And I was like, I'm going to satisfy some curiosity. And I'm going to play with her. And I do have to say, I was glad that I tried her, but I haven't touched it again in such a long time. Whew. Oh my goodness, that color though. That color though. But she still performs, right? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I know we're going into spring, so I feel like these are some good spring colors too. I gotta rediscover her. And this is another reason that I actually love doing declutters where I touch every little thing. Because maybe it's going to be a reintroduction to, like, what do you have in your collection that maybe because you've had so much you forgot about? So just because you haven't used it doesn't mean you won't want to use it when you rediscover it. So I do want to use this, want to rediscover her, and I know she had like a roasting on YouTube, but I can't wait to play with her again, honestly. I mean, look at these swatches, hot dang. Ace Beauté is a line that I fell in love with from YouTube and BoxyCharm. I discovered how pigmented these were, how great they were. I had some OG palettes in my collection forever and ever and ever. Now, I'm not, like I just said, a huge fan of a color story like this with some purples and pinks. I keep saying that because I keep seeing them, and then I'm like, I don't know when I last touched them. You're seeing some greens in here that I do like and why I kept this palette, but as we just saw, I've got some great greens here, but I also have some in my color pops like the Mandalorian palette, things like that. So I already know I can let go of this Ace Beauté Violet Sage palette and give this to a family member or a friend because these are still really good, hardly touched too. And there's no reason that this couldn't go to a new home. And I'm not reaching for it, so I may as well. Declutter, that's 4. Then there is the Ace Beauté Nostalgia palette. Okay, could you just see all this tropical vibes here? Like for me, when I open this palette, yes, I see the pinks and purples, but then I also see the yellows, the creams, the greens. Ugh. What do I want to do? I'm kind of torn on this one personally. Whoa! Whoa! Look at that color! Shazam! That's a jungle color. Ooh, that's a fun orangey sun color. Oh my gosh. I'm a Barbie girl in a Barbie world. Sorry for the singing. I take it back. Please don't unsubscribe. Whoa! Like, that's a colorful palette. I'm going to compare this to another colorful palette I have in my collection here in a second, and then we're going to do a palette off or something. We're going to have a showdown between 2 palettes, I think. So going in the maybe pile so I can do a showdown. You guys, I just keep staring at these colors and I'm like, man, I need you guys to give me like a challenge. Like, what can I do with some bold, vibrant colors for this summer so I can like start putting together ideas for a look? Because I gotta use some of these. And as I'm looking at my bigger palettes here, I'm seeing we have a lot of colorful shadows to come. So we may as well just jump into those, I guess, because this again was the Ace Beauté Nostalgia palette. And this is how vibrant she is. Like, goodness gracious, great balls of fire, right? This one is so damn controversial that I don't talk about it. I've rarely used it. I actually got this in a subscription box that was not BoxyCharm. I got this in a Chic Beauty box. It came a little broken, but I know everybody that had this palette, no matter who the person is representing this, was like, oh my gosh, you have everything you need in here, all the colors. But because it is so massive, I've hardly touched it. It usually sits underneath all my other palettes because it like takes up a whole base of a drawer. Like, you can't stand it up. So stuff ends up being piled on top of this all the time. And I know there's a lot of hate for this person, and I'm not getting into any of that right now. I'm just literally talking about what's in my collection. And this was sent to me. This green, which is a really pretty green actually, got trashed in shipping. So that's not even from like a ton of use. That's just from shipping. Holy buckets. That's pigmented. All right, I'm just going to go to the most vibrant things that I'm seeing here, and we're going to go from there. Oh my gosh, I feel like that's Cookie Monster. Here's Oscar the Grouch. Like, these are so vibrant, they look like kids' colors, right? And that's something you gotta be able to appreciate, though. Oh my golly. All right, oh my golly. Like orange, wow. This pink. Oh my golly. Okay, again, y'all need to send me like some kind of challenge to do with these colors. I cannot. Holy cow, let's look at this yellow. Big bird. Big bird in the house. Holy cow. So like, again, we've got all these vibrant colors. I will be honest, it's not been that long ago that I swatched these, and these look really great from Ace Beauté, but these from, I don't even like saying his name, James Charles Morphe palette, are bolder and smoother, honestly. And again, this is more James's name on it. It's more of a Morphe thing, and I know Morphe's got their own stigma out there. Again, this is not about them. It's just about what I have in my collection and maybe what I want to try to use. Okay, this color is not giving me much. Not very pigmented, but I'm sure you could layer. It's so freaking massive though. The problem I have with stuff like this is, again, the reason I haven't been touching it, none of these have even been swatched before in most of these, is because I don't see her. She hides underneath all the other things because she's a big girl. I mean, I don't know if you can tell the difference here, but I can in person. These look really vibrant from the Morphe palette, and these over here look vibrant too, but a little less. And now I'm sitting here going, do I need that? Oh, but that green though is really cool. Do I have anything that color in this? Oh, yep, kind of do. Now I'm sitting here going, do I keep this and get rid of some other colorful ones? That's why I'm doing this. She says she doesn't have a lot of time to play with, and then she does this. Just kind of comparing and swatching right now. Oh my gosh, look at me. I am a juicy fruit. And then another colorful palette I have here is the ABH Norvina collection. This is the volume 3. I mean, look at all these colorful things. You never see them because they are in the bottom drawer under things because they're so big. Can you see what I'm talking about here? Like, this is a lot. And my fingers look like this from swatching. Like, what do I do? What do I do? Holy cow. That's just as vibrant as this really vibrant one. A blue like that to compare it to, but got a blue shimmer. What's a girl gonna do? What does a girl, oh my gosh. Okay, so if you do not want to get, I don't even think you can get the James Charles, can you even get it anymore? I don't know. But this Norvina one is having some colors that are real darn close. I don't need all of these colorful palettes, but what do, you guys? Honestly, the more I'm comparing my arms here, the Ace Beauté Nostalgia palette has less, which makes it more attainable, which is why I knew she was in there. But her swatches are not as like thorough, vibrant, bold as these, even though these are bold colors. So that's making it easier, and probably a good reason that I can now say, I'm gonna go ahead and declutter this because I have all of this still to figure out what I'm gonna do with it. So decluttering this one, but again, she's still pretty fresh, so gonna pass this on to a friend. Probably not a family member because my family members would not go that bold. I'm probably gonna do like some looks with these, and oh my gosh, I have to clean my fingers. And see which one performs better. Maybe that's a good way to tackle these two. So give me a challenge for colors. Maybe I could do an old school like sunset vibe, or I don't know, maybe pop into the blues or greens more. Give me an idea, and then what I will do is like a one-eye each one and see which one performs better. And maybe that's how I'll declutter some of these other ones in the future. What do you think about that? I gotta find my fingers and go wash my hands. Give me 1 second. My Roomba's already going off. Adam's gonna be leaving work any minute. You're gonna start hearing traffic, so I need to move this along. Definitely going to be playing with these, decluttering the Ace Beauté, but she's gonna get a new home. Moving on, let's look at the Villainous Misunderstood palette. Honestly, this palette is going to stay for a few reasons. One, this is mostly all shimmers and a great assist palette. This is something I tend to reach for when I want a little onesie twosie of mostly these shimmer shadows. Also, this is kind of like a collector's mindset. I will be 100% real with you. Sometimes when you can't get something anymore, but you love it so much, like the Villains Disney Misunderstood palette, it's not something I'm going to be willing to get rid of at this moment in time. I also do use her on the occasion. Do I use her a lot? No, I don't. But if I want something on top of the lids that are going to give a little bit more of an interesting moment from a palette I don't have anything similar to, I will go to this. So I do like her. She's staying. Hocus Pocus. Gather Round Sisters palette, very similar reasoning. This is one of the originals when they did the rerun. I was so disappointed I didn't get this the first round. This is something I love pulling out in the fall. I think she's fun. I don't think her quality is as good as maybe some of their other ColourPop palettes, but she's good enough that I want to hang on to her and continue to use her. So I will. This palette shook my world up when I received the Transitions palette from Dominique Cosmetics. This is an all matte palette, and the 2016-2017 Nichole would have been like, what the heck am I gonna do with an all matte palette? This is so quality. I gotta tell you, I have definitely been the past few years just doing all matte looks, even though shimmers were my jam for the longest time, even in the crease, even on the lids, under the eyes. I mean, it's just my thing. I've definitely gone more to the matte side, and I have compared her formula, this Dominique Cosmetics palette, to the Viseart Neutrals palette that I have that I presented to you in my last video in my declutter. That one is so good, and this one is so good. I don't have pan on her yet, but there are a few shades that I think I could, but she's been buried under all of these extra palettes. So that's another reason I want to declutter, so I can find the things that I know I love that are quality, and this is quality. If you could get this, I recommend her. I bought this after the hype. This is the Too Faced Chocolate Gold palette, and I still like this. This is something that I love, this base color. I think this goes great for any eye look. And similar to some of those ColourPop palettes I was just talking about, these are some shimmers that I don't have in other palettes, so they're great to kind of finalize a look or be a middle tone. Like sometimes I like this green if I'm doing a green eye look, but then I want to put something over it, but this is a nice base. This one, I kind of thought I might be getting rid of soon, but I still use her enough that I'm going to hang on to her for a little bit longer, but I could see myself maybe phasing her out soon, so stay tuned. Y'all, I did more testing with this Sinopia Mellow palette, and I actually wore it this week. I wore it right after my last video filming to try to get a little bit better handle on her, and now she's not terrible. So if this is in your collection, it's not like this is bad. It's not like I'm going to tell you to throw it out. But if you have a collection similar to mine where you just have a lot, you may notice that this shifts, that this wears, maybe it's my skin. Maybe my face just eats the makeup. But after I've blended some of these top shades into my crease, midway through the day, it will have diffused. It won't look as clean. It'll maybe look like maybe I didn't apply it well when really it's the palette. So I'm gonna declutter this. But again, if you got it and you don't have a huge collection, and if you like it, keep it, girl. That goes along with anything that I'm decluttering in here. This just for me isn't something that I need to reach for because I have so many other things with the same color story. Rare Beauty. I love me some Selena Gomez, Team Selena all the way. However, this eyeshadow palette is not something I'm reaching for. I actually had her moved into a different drawer, even outside of the drawers you just saw. So I'm gonna gift this to a friend. It's relatively new. This is the True to Myself palette. And for some reason, these just aren't jiving with me. I forget about them. And while it's still so new, I'd rather give it to somebody else. Also, this Gritty Center Glitter shade. I don't like these glitters in here essentially, so these gotta go. I'm not a huge fan of that. So now what we have left here are some classics in my collection, some favorites. Let's talk about them, and you know what? Let's go ahead and talk about the Jaclyn Hill palette. This is the Morphe palette. Now this is not the rerun. This is the original that I ordered and got. Well, actually, Adam got it for me at Christmas in like 2017 because I was just still on the fence about it, but you guys had said, this is so good. And really, when I told him, he was like, you gotta have that. So he got it for me for Christmas, and I've not regretted it at all. As you can see, there is some pan on there in a couple of different shades. I'm really close to it in some other shades. You cannot buy this formula anymore, and it is still colorful. It's not this kind of colorful, obviously, where we're talking vibrancy, but this has a lot of options in it that are more neutral, which are where my brain goes. And yes, even though this is a massive palette, like I said with some of these other big ones, I will pull this one out. There's two that I pull out regularly that are big size, like chunky girls here, and I stick her on top over the top of other things, and this is one of them. It's so good, and while it's still good, since it's going to age out eventually, I'm gonna keep it and keep using it. The other one that is pretty big, not as big as that one, is the Tati Beauty palette. Again, this is one, her company unfortunately is no more, and these are some of the best shadows I have ever tried. Truly, I always wondered what her other palettes would have looked like. She teased recently that maybe, this is again Tati from YouTube, if you did not know who Tati Beauty is. She's a YouTuber, this was her personal line, and unfortunately the company is no more. But she has teased recently that maybe she would start it back up again in the future, and if she did, I would be first in line for more shadows. So many people have loved her palettes. The component is actually super heavy because it's a quality make. The texture on the outside feels great, even if it doesn't look that great from fingerprints. The mirror is stunning, stunning mirror. And these shades, I mean, the main reason you buy a palette is for the actual eyeshadows. The mattes, the sequin row, the metallic row, and the glitter row, every one of them is the best I've had in probably ever, a really long time. I compare them to my other top quality ones from name brands you have heard of. So this is not going anywhere. Not going anywhere. It's usually these two tend to be the ones that on the bottom drawer I pull to the top and they rotate covering each other because these are some of my big palette favorites. Love them so much. And they're more neutral, which is why I need to force myself to be more bold and colorful this summer with the other palettes. Okay, so these, oh boy. These are some of my older palettes. I loved the Tartist Pro Remix Tarte palette. This is something I got in a Boxy Luxe maybe, and this is kind of like the best of both worlds. This is neutrals meets some pops of like, pow, look at those greens, look at those blues. These are really good. The blues really complement brown eyes. If you have brown eyes and you're always looking for a way to complement brown eyes, greens and blues, they're gonna do you service. They're gonna be your best friends, and look at how yummy those look. Those look delicious. Oh my gosh. These colors are stunning. They pull beautifully. They also last really well. And I have tested these in the hot Florida heat. They stay all day. They are great. I would say the shimmers are better than the mattes, honestly. But it doesn't mean the mattes aren't quality, but there's only like two mattes in here. Everything else is a shimmer, but it's also a different tonality than anything else I have. We've got some more neutral colors. We've got some golds in here. I really tend to jump into this for these types of colors because something like this you may have in other palettes. It may seem a little less of a standout, but they are really good quality. Ooh, I forgot about that color. That's pretty, yes? So I'm gonna be hanging on to this palette. This was my like introduction to, I believe, this is their clay formula, right? Yeah, their Amazonian clay formula, and it's so good. So this was my second one, and I got this also in a subscription, I think Boxy Luxe or Boxy Premium, and this is the Tartist Pro palette. And I thought, okay, well, this is where the mattes are gonna come into play, and it's a lot of cool tones. And you know, as I'm staring at her, I'm trying to remember the last time I used her, and I really don't know. So let's see, is this gonna be one of those situations where, oh my gosh, I can't wait to rediscover this, or I don't need you? Like, that's what I gotta figure out, because I'm even looking at some of these, and as I'm looking at the indentments of where it says Tarte and the pressing, I don't see a lot of swatching or usage. So let's see. I do love a cream shade that comes to play. I do love when things are opaque, when they're that tone, because I need those. Ooh, that's actually pretty good. Very smooth. I do love the Amazonian clay formula. That's the other thing. I know I really liked Whimsy. Whimsy I thought was a great, oh yeah, that's a great performing shade there. Okay. You know what? I'm going to reintroduce this to my weekly rotation, I think. Oh yeah, these are all performing really nicely. So yes, this is like the beige toned down cooler version of what's on the other side of my arm. All of the trucks are starting to come home, guys, so I need to wrap this up. But these are like the cooler tones, but you could definitely see them, right? They're blendable. The Amazonian clay formula is really what's making this such a standout, because I'm sure these shades exist in other things, but when they're this quality, yeah, they're not vibrant like this side of the arm, but they're good. So I'm gonna hang on to this and put this like in the top part of my rotation. Okay, so the Sunrise Natasha Denona. Now we're into Natasha. And quite honestly, this was probably her least quality of the middle-sized palettes for her. This was the first Natasha palette though that I ever had, and it was gifted from one of you guys during my hysterectomy recovery. It was the sweetest gift I may have ever gotten, and especially at that point. I mean, other than my husband giving me my engagement ring, like, don't tell him I said that. But these are really nice. Even though they're maybe not the best formula, this is still something that I love to use in the summer and the springtime. So I'm going to see how much I use her this spring. And if I don't use her a lot this spring and summer, maybe I will consider this in the fall declutter. But as of right now, I want to use her up. The Zendo palette, this has torn the internet up, because this is, no, okay, you know what, whatever I said about the Sunrise palette, about this not being, this was formerly the formula that people were like, this isn't the same as her normal big ones. This one is probably the one that has taken that ranking as being the one that people complain about the most with her mid-size palettes. I actually enjoyed this pretty well. I do wish we would have gotten some other Natasha Denona palette, to be honest, but I'm still using this, so I am going to hang on to her right now as well. But again, you never know what's going to happen in the fall. We don't know what I'm going to get before then as well, and may bump these out of rotation. And last but not least, my last big palette that I'm going through today is the Natasha Denona Glam palette. This one was not sent to me in a subscription box. This was one my husband got me for Christmas, because I was like, I want a Natasha Denona palette that I pick for once. So this is the one that I asked for Christmas, and this is a neutral, cool-toned lover's dream. I feel like this is a nice, like, complementary palette to some of my other ones that are warmer toned, because I didn't really have anything that was more cool toned, and I've been leaning way more into the cooler tones over the past, I don't know, year and a half, 2 years maybe, and I never thought that would happen ever, honestly. These are really great. If you've ever tried the Natasha Denona line, you may know her formula is really quality, super blendable, super easy to use. And again, like I said, some are better than others. So I wanted something that I knew was quality, and I do like this quite a bit. I talked about her small mini palettes, the one that inspired me to get this one, in my last video. As you can see, the shimmers and the mattes in here are really great. They have different types of tonalities, so you can make complete looks with this. You could pair this with other palettes. I love the depth of these, and I like that some of them are a touch warmer than others, so you can get an entirely different look each time you use it if you want to. Loving this as well. So let's go through this. Okay, so while 7 palettes may not feel like a ton, considering the amount of palettes that I went through and what I had previously decluttered as well, this is actually adding to a grand total. I don't want to touch my my lighter colored furniture with all of these vibrant swatches. I still can't get over like how much I look like juicy fruit. I kind of thought, I wasn't sure what to expect, honestly, with this portion of the declutter, because these bigger palettes take up more room, but that I knew there was less of them. But I needed to really discover, what am I reaching for? Let's go ahead and take all of these palettes, put them back in the drawers, and then I think I'm going to kind of see too, how am I feeling about what's left in here? Am I excited to reach for them, or do I need to consider a part 3? Like the final round. Like, what would I do? I don't even know, but I need to see how I feel about this, because 7 is good considering this is an addendum to an addition in addition to what I had previously done. But some of the, you know what? I haven't touched this in a while. This is the Wander Beauty Wanderess Escape palette. I'm just staring at it, and I knew I put this in the maybe pile. I forgot to go back to it, didn't I? We're just gonna put her in here. So that's gonna be 8. That's going to be 8 palettes I'm getting rid of for this round. I'm not using it. I need to stop just hoarding onto stuff that I thought I'd like or want to like, or, oh, it's not bad. I need to just grab things that make me excited, you know? So let's start putting all these back in here and see if I feel like I'm gonna have to do around 3. I don't know, because I have other makeup I want to get to with this declutter series with you. So let's do a fast forward into the drawer. Here we go. I'm gonna have colors and rainbows on me for days, but I'm sitting here looking through and I'm wondering, I'm gonna sit with it for a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna sit with it and kind of reorganize, see how I use things, maybe try to get a little bit more order in, because now I think I've officially gotten rid of over 30 palettes. I'll do a total here for both videos of how many palettes I got rid of, because I didn't have quite 100, but I had close to 100. I'm gonna see how things go and progress as I keep doing this declutter series. I really need to get to some other categories though, because as I'm sitting here on the floor looking at my stuff, I'm like, I need to go through face palettes. I need to, because I'm not using a lot of face palettes and I have quite a bit of those. Blushes, highlighters. I'm not even really touching highlighters. I kind of feel like I'm a collector with those though, and I haven't used them, but I have them because I loved them at some point. Yeah, there's a lot more still to go through in here. So let me know in the comments below which section of my makeup you want to go through with the declutter with me next, and I will keep you posted if I'm going to do a round 3 with the eyeshadow palettes. I'm so finicky. I actually just got in some more PR and there's more eyeshadow palettes in there, and I'm already looking at the color story going, oh, I don't know about this. I don't know. A big thank you to S.Deer for sponsoring a portion of today's video. It's sponsorships like that that really help me to grow my channel, you guys. So I always appreciate when you guys are kind and loving about me throwing in sponsorships here and there, because they really help my small channel to thrive. And thank you so much. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and let me know again what piece of my makeup collection you want to see me declutter next. Bye, friends.